Welcome, everyone, to our Building and Grounds June meeting. And we have a few agenda items, and let's start with 1.01, NFA heating and cooling pipe. Mr. Velez?
Thank you, Mr. Levinstein. Last month, I showed a picture of this, and I couldn't stay in the meeting due to an emergency, so I want to get back to you. Matthew has the pictures. NFA heating and cooling pipe were installed in 1965 when they built the 65 edition. Over the past 5 years, we have two breakages. One happened last year, and one happened 3 weeks ago. We patched the pipe. We fixed it to get by to the end of the year. We got a quote. The POs are in to fix it. But I think that in the near future, we need to start planning, because the pipe was installed in 65. So I was born in 64. It's very old. And it's starting to rust. We need to come up with a plan, and it's going to be expensive. So when we open the area where we're going to fix the last week of June, I'm going to peel back more insulation, take pictures, and I will talk to Ms. Roaring to see if we can start making plans to do something with that main pipe, because it's going to be a couple $100,000 to replace it.
Ms. Beneo, you have any questions?
Mr. Velez, I really like that idea, especially if you do it like you did painting, where you do one school or one section of a school and replace stuff. It's a great idea, because then at least you can plan ahead and budget, and I'm sure Ms. Roaring is happy about that.
Yeah. It's 4 sections, so the main section, we had the 2 ruptures, is what I'm going to plan for next year.
Yeah, but I'm sure that other schools also have similar problems.
NFA is the only school that has central air since 1970, I believe it is. And they use the same water for heating and cooling, so expand and contract. So it's only NFA.
Thank you.
So, and your point is also that you sent us some pictures of, I'm guessing, 1 or 2 pipes.
Yes.
But there's a lot of
The
pipes.
entire building, NFA had the pipe going around.
The entire building.
So the main section, the 1927, is what we're going to have to replace first. So I'm hoping to do it in 4 phases.
And it's all, or a lot behind walls, or hidden?
Above the ceiling in most places, where 2 buildings meet, go from one building to the other, sometime on the ground. So we're mapping out the whole pipe.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure that'll be quite expensive. Okay, 1.02, BMS update?
Yes, the energy performance contract is coming to an end soon. The BMS system has been installed in every classroom and every space in the school. Roger and I are still working with some pneumatic stuff that we still have to get replaced, but the BMS is working. A good example of it is last night. It got hot here, and I turned it up. Then we went to executive session, and the clock turned it off at 8:30, so when I came back, I put it back on. So now from my computer, we have 3 people. This building and NFA, we have full control of heating and air conditioner. The rest of the district, we can control the heating, not the air conditioner, because we have window units in the classrooms, and they're not connected to the BMS. But in the heating season, I can look at every classroom. I can adjust. If there's a problem with any piece of equipment, like a boiler, radiator, we get an alarm. So if something happened overnight, we'll know right away. We're going to program the system to send text messages. If a boiler goes down at 3 in the morning, we'll get a text, and then we can go look. So it's going to help us a lot maintain the equipment and to maintain the temperature. And last night was a perfect example.
Ms. Mineo, have any questions? So is this system are you the only one that has access, or does building principals have access to this?
Right now, no. Right now, it's myself, Tim Chenoweth, and Anthony is the mechanic. We're the only one that can make changes. I am going to give access to the school to look, but not to touch. Because I'm going to give you an example. Today, the main office in NFA sent me an email that it was 72 degrees. It was too hot. They want to lower it to 68. We're not doing that. We put set points in the schools. If you go to 74, I'll get alarm. It's too hot. If you go in the winter too cold, we get alarm. But 71 to 73 is the threshold that we put in for most schools. I did this building this week. There were some problems, and I made the whole floor 72, so stay equal. So we're going to give them access to look like a head custodian in the high school. If there's a problem, they can go look and see what the problem. They cannot make any changes.
So just to understand a little more, is it the changes you can make are by the room, from your computer
I
site?
can change a classroom from my computer, yes.
Okay, so you can change, it's not a whole wing or a whole building?
No, it's
You
by
can do it
classroom,
by
by
classroom?
office. Like last night, this room, not the rest of the floor. This room is by room. Same thing with the heating, by room. Some rooms we have found out lately, and this building is one of them, have two thermostats, one for heating and one for cooling. I'm still trying to see how we make only one, but they both listed in the BMS, so I can see both if there's a problem. And in the last few days that have been very warm, we have made some adjustments. NFA, yesterday we had a problem in an area, and we just made the pump faster because the cooling tower is the cooling tower, and it's working quite well.
All right, thank you. Thank you. 1.03, NFA graduation preparation?
Graduation is next week. I cannot believe it came this fast. But I attended several meetings. We are all set for graduation. For Construction and Career Academy, the students built a new stage for graduation. We had a meeting last week with a team from NFA Main, NFA North. We have all the equipment that we're renting coming. We have the buildings and grounds crew ready. I have the painters working in the NFA. They started this past Monday. So we're not painting in school in the next 2 weeks. We're painting the back of NFA, all the railing, all the stuff for graduation. So the only thing that we had left is I have to run a wire for speakers because we found a problem with the fiber optic. And I'm going to talk to Jeremy about that. I talked to Ruben today. But by Friday, we should be 100% ready for graduation.
Ms. Mineo?
Mr. Velez, can you please make sure that the board is separated? Because usually we're very tight, we're very close together. And believe me, I like everybody on the board, but I really would like a little space between us. You know, I think we should still be looking at a little bit of COVID precautions.
The new stage is a little bigger, and the handicap ramp. I talked to Chris Cotton yesterday, so we're going to have a little more room on the stage to separate chairs.
And do you know if they're also going to be live streaming it in the auditorium that they've done in previous years?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. 1.04, capital construction update. Mr. Ramjo.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy, did you want to have that electronically to show up? Thank you. So I prepared a spreadsheet. On the agenda item for today is a proposal to utilize the CRISA funding to supplement some of the budget gap, or supplement the budget gap we have for some individual scopes of work, as well as the overages that have occurred at the bidding process at Heritage as well as Vales Gate. So for simpler understanding, I want to provide you the information that shows what the bidding results were for the mechanical and the ventilation work at Heritage as well as Vales Gate. That's a point of reference. The core of the proposal that we're asking for really focuses in the middle of the page. One of the very necessary scopes of work that has emerged that was not part of the capital project is an additional access at Heritage Middle School. And the more we explored that, the more we realized that it was going to be more of a holistic project. It wasn't going to, there's not a simple solution to it. So we're in the very beginning stages. That would include the projected cost for a new entrance and the roadway so that parents can access, buses can access simultaneously. The scopes of work would include site work, road retainage. It will require some shoring up of the site, parking lot landing, potentially a traffic light, depending on what the Department of Transportation, and of course, incidental costs. For right now, those costs are estimated to be at $2.5 million. It's one of the other scopes of work that we found was very important, even though it wasn't included in the base bid for Vales Gate, was the entranceway awning. The school has logistical challenges because if you look at it from the front of the school, it's puzzling to determine for visitors exactly which entrance is the legitimate entrance, despite signage, et cetera, et cetera. So many different strategies have been tried. So part of the project, part of the capital project was to fix that by designating an awning for the main entrance to Vales Gate. As a budgetary measure, we broke that out and took a price for it separately as an ad alternate. So it's not included in the base bid. And the cost is approximately $275,000, and given the continuous acceleration of inflation by the time we're prepared to do that work, we budgeted $300,000. The overall budget gap for Heritage is just over $1 million, and the overall budget gap for Vales Gate is $1.4 million. So combined, we have a budget gap of approximately $5.2 million. And we are proposing to use the CRISA funding to offset that. And I'm going to use the word indirectly, and I'm going to explain that now. So the proposed use for the CRISA funding is ideally aligned to the HVAC work that's planned at, the mechanical work that's planned at Heritage, as well as Vales Gate. So those resources that are in place can be used to help offset that, leaving those resources in the capital budget to pursue these other outstanding scopes. So the mechanical work meets the criteria for the CRISA funding, and if it's used there, those resources are freed up in the capital budget to pay for the items that I just described, including and especially closing the budget gap so that we can move forward with the start of the capital project. Questions?
Ms. Mineo?
Thank you. I have two questions. One, Ms. Roaring, the use of CRISA funds, is this a use that we put into our proposals, I guess?
Prior to my arrival, there was a set aside in our Sarissa funding for work to be done for HVAC, as well as other ventilation measures, which could include window replacement and abatement associated with that. So there is a set aside that was in excess of $6 million.
So this is going to be something that we can use that money for?
Yes.
Okay, so the second thing is, when will the board be informed of the use of CRISA money for this? At the next board meeting?
I think that would be appropriate.
Thank you.
We're here to gain your support.
Can you turn your mic on, please?
Sorry. We're here to gain support, understanding, and support in committee in order to move it forward to the full board, because it is required for us to receive board approval to use the CRISA funding.
No. Mr. Remchuk, I truly understand the need for all of these things, and especially that new entrance at Heritage, because it's becoming critical at this point. So I am for this. I just want to make sure that we're using the money in the right way so that we don't get in trouble down the line. And I really want to make sure that we inform the board at every step so we don't hit any roadblocks like we have been. I just want to keep them, up to date as much as we can.
And we have a structure in place. Ms. Roaring and I discussed the structure in place to open up that communication both publicly via facilities committee meeting, and then, of course, updates to the board as necessary.
So that means even if you have to come to the board every meeting, to bring stuff up, maybe that's necessary. If we want to, move this forward and move it along as quickly as we can.
Yes, Ms. Monet. As you can see, there are some complexities to these things, so it does require education and explanation. So if that's necessary, then so be it.
So, Mr. Ramchuk, I think the CRISA funds have to be used by a certain time, or is it allocated by a certain time or used by a certain time?
They have to be expensed by September of 2023. So we are within the window to be able to make those expenditures and comport to that deadline for submission. Mr. Ramjug is working with the Paloma Group and CPL at my request to get the very detailed breakdown of these bids for HVAC so that we can make sure we have the ability to report at the granular level we're required to when we access grant funds.
So, okay, so maybe that kind of explains where I was going with this. I would assume the road work at Heritage is going to go beyond that point. If you need state approvals for lights and things like that. So if you use the money for HVAC stuff in Heritage, then that money is put aside back in the capital bond to be allocated for the road work.
Yes, the intention would be to access the Sarissa dollars for HVAC work, and then we would have a set aside remaining within the capital project budget for the work at the Heritage Entry, as well as the awning, if the board agrees with those priorities.
Okay, so as long as the other work is done by
Yes.
September of next year. Okay, so that makes sense. And of course, the road work is important there, and it's a safety concern, and we've been hearing about that for a long time. So I'm certainly glad that it would be going forward like this too. So.
Yes, I just wanted to add, it does require research.
Can you turn on your mic, please?
Oh, I apologize. It's turning off by itself. We were very in the beginning stages of pulling together the necessary research to find out what the best option is, both internally, logistically at Heritage, as it applies to what the configuration of the road, the location of the entrance, is a traffic light going to be necessary, potentially traffic count, et cetera. So that's what, in the context of approximately.
I understand. I was going to say that. You're making your best educated guess.
Correct.
Because we're at the real beginning stages of that. Ms. Mineo?
I think there's some urgency to this. I think that if you go back and you listen to what happens at Heritage at the beginning and end of the day, it's a danger. It's a danger to not only the children and their parents and the staff at the building, but also the neighborhood and the community. So I think we have to really, I have to tell you, and I express it to everybody, that I feel that there's an urgency and that we can't say, okay, we got to count the cars again. No, we have to do what we need to do as quickly as we possibly can.
That's fully understood, Ms. Mineo, and we're approaching it that way.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments or questions?
Mark,
Yes.
during the summer, usually we don't meet in July and August, but having construction in two schools, I'm going to ask if we can have a meeting sometime in the summer in case Roger needs to bring an update, because we're going to start in Heritage and Velsgate in the next few weeks if the board approves the bids. So I think we have to do an update before September of where we are. So I would like you to consider having a meeting sometime in the summer, maybe one meeting.
That is certainly reasonable, and I kind of thought of that last night when we were talking about the capital bond, that there's going to be, once summer comes around, there's going to be tons of work with all these approvals, and maybe we should try to meet if we can. Yes, Mr. Warren?
Mr. Levinstein, if you would indulge us for just a moment of the committee's time, we wanted to bring forward a proposal that as part of the 22-23 board committees, that this committee be reconceived as a facilities committee, which would encompass critical reviews and updates of all the capital project work in addition to buildings and grounds as we go forward, so that we have that routine form in which we'll be providing formal, structured, public updates on the project.
That certainly sounds well to me. Ms. Mineo?
I think we need to fold in audit, because remember in the beginning when you first took over this committee, you had a concern about the audit part of this committee. So I think
That's not this one.
buildings and grounds, that's right, it's finance. I apologize. I'm kind of mishing everything together.
But I think that is a good idea to expand it. I mean, we're talking about building and grounds. When you talk about capital bond project, there's nothing more building than grounds than that. So you think it would be like renamed the facilities or something like that?
Facilities committee.
The idea was to name it as a facilities committee so that it would be very clear that it's going to encompass everything related to our facilities, whether that's capital work, repair updates, or whatever else may need to come forward to this committee.
That's a good idea. I'm okay with that. Ms. Mineo? She's okay? Okay.
So what will be the next step to schedule a meeting in the summer? Because I know in the summer we don't have meeting. Are we doing that in the reorg? I really don't know, but we got to pick a day in the summer. I would say early August, like it's in the middle, so we can give you an update on where we are.
Well, generally, do we like kind of have some meetings in July and not much in August? Is that what's normally done, or?
Usually, there are no committee meetings in the summer, there are just board meetings. But because we have this particular project that's ongoing and important to take care of during the summer, my suggestion would be leave it. I will speak to Mr. Forget on Friday about this with Matthew and Ms. Peterson and Mr. Howard, and whoever becomes president in July 1st, then we can arrange to have that change of name and also a change of schedule.
Okay, yeah, maybe it could be the same day and whatever the
And I
third
believe
Wednesday, second Wednesday,
you
whatever
should do
is.
it once a month. You should do it in July, and you should do it in August.
I'm okay with
Just to
that.
keep you
the
together.
two. Yeah, so.
And I had communicated that to Mr. McCoy about if there was a standard day that we could set, or do the meetings necessarily have to be on a month-by-month, determined on a month-by-month basis, so.
All right, well, we could do that. It probably, like Ms. Mineo says, it probably has to wait till July 1st to make these arrangements anyway. So, okay. So that's it, and Mr. Velez will plan on meeting at least once during the summer. And if that's all, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Thanks.